views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello, I'm Darren Jaime, and today is Open. We'll tell you about what's happening in and around our community. Coming up on today's show, the Democratic and Republican national conventions are over, and the debate season fast approaching. We'll have a political panel in studio weighing in on the futures of both parties, of what they believe we can expect in the coming weeks. Following that, local officials have announced new funding to relocate the Van Cortlandt Branch Library to a new and better home. A council member will be stopping by in studio to let us know what this means for our community. Plus, New York City's Police Commissioner William Bratton has stepped down from office. We'll discuss what this means for the NYPD Blue, as well as community relations between police and community right here in the city. And a Bronx elected officials also speaking out after his alleged assault by NYPD officers last week at a community event. Assemblyman Michael Blake will be here giving us his perspective on the encounter with police, as long as his take on the Bratton resignation. And then later on in the program, Bronxites get a chance to spend the day in the life of the Bronx River. We'll sit down with the ecology director of the Bronx River Alliance to learn more about the very special event. We want you to stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I'm your host, Darren Jaime. Today is Wednesday, August the 3rd, and of course, you're watching Open, a live program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. We want to encourage you to stay connected to us. You can find out more about us on Twitter at BronxNet TV and Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Well, kicking things off on our show, a Bronx teen is missing. Councilmember Andy King, along with the father of the missing teen, are making a passionate plea for anyone with answers to come forward. Our BronxNet correspondent, Katie Annoyed Knight, has the story, and she brings it to us right now.
The Bronx is an active community with many interesting events happening each week. But at the same time, each week a teenager under the age of 17 goes missing, leaving many families in the Bronx community distraught. There have been 917 missing teens reports, and currently 4% are still missing.
One such case that we talked about revolved around Ashley Vasil, who was a 16-year-old who disappeared on June 23rd after attending a high school graduation at the Botanical Gardens. It's been expected and suspected that she was visiting this graduation in support of, quote unquote, a boyfriend. And at the end of the graduation ceremony, we were led to believe that they had departed together, and we have not heard from them since.
I'm really grateful for my daughter, and I would like she to return back home. It's not easy, something right now. Family grieving. I'm only in the country 2.5 years in New York, so she don't have no family. So, thank you. And also thank Mr. King to highlight this. And I guess you have a lot of parents out there, you know, suffering the same suffering that I'm suffering here right now. Thank you.
New York City Council member Andy King says that what this community needs is for everyone to come together and be each other's keeper.
I would ask every parent that's out there, take a look at when those missing children are going up. And if your child is missing, tell your neighbors so everybody's on the lookout. And we cannot be judgmental of each other. Everyone's household may have something going on and we don't know. So at the end of the day, people run away or never come back home. Are in crisis looking for help, not looking for her to be judged.
And whosoever keeping her, as a parents, they should come forward. As a parent here, I'm really grieving. My wife, my kids, family. So as a family, she under some shelter. I guess she's not on the street. She under some shelter. And whoever have her, they just, I just wanted to release her, let's safe return home.
In my hand is a picture of a missing child. Her name is Ashley Basil. If you have any information leading up to finding her, please call 911. For BronxNet, this is Kadia Loynite.
Now, thank you, Katie. And once again, Ashley has been described as a 5'1" tall female with dark hair and brown eyes, weighing about 110 pounds. Anyone with answers is urged to call the New York City Police Department at 212-694-7781. Once again, that number, 212-694-7781. In other news, Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., along with a number of local officials, announced $2 million in funding allocations to relocate the Van Cortlandt Branch Library to a new, larger home. Many people are excited, and here to give us a little bit more about that is Councilmember Andrew Cohen from the 11th District. And Councilman Cohen, thank you so much for being with us.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Exciting, of course. This library, we know, will be double in size. What can Bronxites expect?
Well, the current branch really goes back almost 50 years. It is very small, it is very dated, and it doesn't offer all the space to have the kind of programming we would like. So this is really great news. It's a partnership between the borough president, as you said, State Assemblyman Dinowitz, State Senator Klein, and myself, pulling together the resources to outfit this new library. One of the exciting things about the library is the current facility is rented, and the new facility will be owned by the New York Public Library, so it'll be ours in perpetuity, and that's really a significant improvement. So we're really excited.
How long has this been in the works?
About 18 months. It took, to get the money together, for libraries to negotiate the acquisition of the space. So I was there maybe about a year and a half ago, kind of looking it over and seeing if we thought that this would make sense. And again, I'm really excited. Talk
to us a little bit about community involvement and buy-in. Obviously, a lot of conversation was had with the community. What was the response like when you, just going through the process?
Well, actually when I was a candidate, before I was in office, people complained about the inadequacy of the current library. Again, it is very small. I think in the library system internally, they ranked it as like their 4th worst library in the entire system. So that was really a significant problem that the community wanted addressed. And this is really a win-win because the current that we're going to move to was an empty facility not being used, and that really takes advantage of this space, and I think it's going to be great.
So for Bronxites who don't know, please walk us through exactly what we can expect in this new facility.
Well, as you said, the main point is we're going to have a library that's more than twice the size. But we're also going to have programming space for when children want to read, public reading. I go to libraries sometimes and I get the opportunity to read to the kids. You'll be able to use the stacks though and have these other programming and not disturb each other. So that's really, I think, going to be the big advantage. So we can have additional programming, all new technology, state-of-the-art library.
And the total budget, including the acquisition cost, is estimated about $6.5 million?
Yes, it's a big project. And it's a real partnership. And the libraries is kicking in their own money for the acquisition. And as you said, the borough president, Assemblyman Dinowitz, Senator Klein, and myself have pooled together the resources to outfit the library.
And what do you think this means actually for the borough and particularly for residents in the neighborhood?
Well, I'm particularly pleased that that we're all the elected officials rowing together to really make the community better. And this is just the kind of facility, a state-of-the-art modern library. It's good for the kids. It's good for there's a school right across the street. It's just really the kind of partnership that makes the community better. So it's a win-win.
And we know that there's one room that's going to make the adult and children's programming a little bit better. And we understand that there's one room and pretty much attendance at the library has gone up. And so having more room, having more space, do we anticipate even, we say attendance has been up about 49% in recent years. Do we see that even going up higher?
Then the neighborhood is becoming younger. Kids are using the library more. Having dedicated facilities where young people can do, because they use the library differently than adults and older people. So having dedicated space for that, I think, is really going to make a quality of life improvement for the people who are currently using it and the people who are continuing to discover this library.
Give us a little bit more of a timeline.
Things are happening. The library, I believe, has acquired the space. and they're going to be doing the outfitting right away, and I'm hoping that within the next year and a half, this branch will be open.
Now, this branch has been open since 1968. The original location has been since 1968, and so a major change coming to the neighborhood. Councilmember Andrew Cohen, as well as other people in the borough, working to bring this one room and approximately 2,715 square feet. That's what it was before. The new facility will be about close to 6,000 square feet. So if you're out there and you want to go to the library, as soon as it's up there, please be sure to go out there and check it out, because it will be double the size and, of course, I think double the resources.
State of the art.
State of the art. Councilmember Cohen, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Andrew Cohen. And going to take a quick break. We encourage you to stay tuned. We're going to have more show coming up right after this.
Hello, good people of the Bronx and beyond. Welcome to A Life in Art.
You got to learn your body, pace yourself, and have fun. So let's go have fun. Let's go do it. The tricky thing about shoulders, your shoulders is a 3-tier muscle. You have your front delts, you have your rear delts, and you have your mid delts. So when you're working out your shoulders properly, you have to do 3 different exercises.
It's wonderful being able to compete with a lot of these young guys from all over the world. It's important to stay in shape.
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
Well, New York City Police Commissioner William Bratton has stepped down yesterday, leaving many questioning what's in store for the future of the NYPD. Joining us now to share with this take on this particular subject, and also about a recent interaction with an officer from the department. We welcome now to the studio Assemblyman from the 79th District, Michael Blake, and good to have you, Mr. Assemblyman.
Good to see you again.
As we share a little bit about, you had a recent incident with the New York City police officer, and you were at an event, and you filed an excessive force complaint with the department. As you gave your report, you also asked for an apology, which you didn't get from the police commissioner. We'll talk about that in a second, but for our Bronxites, could you just walk us through the experience of what happened on that day?
Well, what occurred, unfortunately, occurs to too many black and brown men in our city and our state, where the decision was made to use excessive force rather than try and de-escalate the situation. At about 3:37 p.m. this past Saturday, we had a family day event at Morris Houses. I arrive, I see a woman is in handcuffs. I see another woman is being pulled away by a gentleman, unclear what their relationship is. As one of the elected officials for that area, I'm trying to find out what's happening. I'm talking to them, speaking to some of the police officers that have recognized me before, and then within a few seconds I hear a commotion about 15 feet behind me. I go back towards the commotion to try to tell people to calm down, and within 2 seconds I'm in a bear hug, being grabbed, being slammed against the gate. by an officer who didn't ask me any situation, any questions at all. The only reason he gets off of me is because another officer recognized me and said, get off of him, which then I immediately said, we all know the situation spirals out of control if they didn't recognize me. I then asked him, why was that level of force being utilized? There's no weapon, there was no threat, there's no reason to determine that there would be that case. No clear answer. I then was asked to go speak to the officer who then grabbed me, who says that he apologizes. However, this partner is like a brother to him, and if the situation presented itself, he would do the same thing. So it's kind of a half-hearted apology. So then I filed the complaint because there was no reason for that level of force. There was no reason for that level of threat. There was no weapon. There was no indication at all for that kind of treatment to occur.
Now, let me just jump in here because there was reports, and there are reports clarified for us, that you put your hands on an officer.
If I touched the cop, I should have been arrested. 2011, Councilman Jamani Williams and Kirsten John Foy, West Indian Day Parade, this same nonsense occurred, where they said supposedly Jamani punched the cop in the face. So again, if I did that, you should have arrested me. Also, on Saturday afternoon, the officer who grabbed me never said that I supposedly touched another officer, nor did his partner, nor did any other officer indicate that. However, after I filed my complaint, after it's gone to press, then all of a sudden I supposedly touched the cop. So we have to really ask ourselves, why does this nonsense continue where someone is determining that this is the level of appropriate force at all, and after the fact then trying to indicate what they supposedly thought occurred? So the reality is, fortunate I was recognized. If I wasn't recognizable on Saturday, I don't know if I'm recognizable today. I'm fortunate that someone realized who I was, but there are a lot of people that don't have my name and my title who get that same kind of treatment every single day, who deserve that same level of fairness, same level of justice. So there has to be a question of what's happening around the training. This was an NCO. This is an individual who's supposed to be implementing community policing, who clearly had no idea who his elected officials were and thought that was the appropriate reaction.
Let me ask a question about, you met with police brass and immediately following there, you had a couple of meetings discussing the incident. What occurred? And I know one of the things that you were looking for was an apology, to which now the former commissioner said that he would not give you. And your thoughts?
Well, it's completely disrespectful in every accord. So let's walk through what happened on Sunday. Mayor de Blasio reaches out without knowing all the facts, apologizes for such an incident to occur. Because again, the police did not deny what it did occur. So we know there was some level of excessive force that occurred, and their justification is, I supposedly did something. So Mayor de Blasio apologizes. Chief O'Neill reaches out after I reach out to him to say we're going to figure out what happened here. Commanding Officer O'Sullivan also reaches out. Let's find out what's happening here. Monday, I do a press conference in front of One Police Plaza. Myself, Councilman Jamani Williams, Kirsten John Foy, members of the Justice League, Donna Lieberman from Civil Liberties Union, to indicate that this level of injustice consistently occurs. And the reality is, because I'm an elected official, there's greater awareness around that. I immediately said I want to have a meeting with Commissioner Bratton, which we reached out to City Hall staff to make that request. We go to 1PP. We meet with Commissioner Bratton, who indicates that he has a few minutes to meet because he has to go up to the Bronx. No apology offered. Says he's aware of the facts, says he's been briefed on the situation. And then Darren, less than an hour after meeting with me, is in the Bronx for a press conference where he indicates, number one, no apology is forthcoming from me. How disrespectful can that be? And then number two, while realizing that it was less than 48 hours after the incident, he says that no action will be taken against the officer, even though the investigation had just begun. Why would people have faith in the system if that's what's happening? If you're actually saying, I don't care what comes out of this investigation, nothing's going to happen to this cop. Where no one has indicated otherwise is that the cop did not use excessive force. So because I'm an elected official, there's awareness that happened around that. But what happens to the people that are not Michael Blake? What happens to the people that are not recognizable? That is the exact reason why people are saying enough is enough, that this kind of nonsense and injustice cannot continue, that black and brown men are seen as threats and victims and criminals out the gate, and not even given the decency of an apology nor the opportunity for a fair investigation.
Had you any knowledge of the police commissioner's intent to step down?
Say it again?
Did you have any knowledge about the police commissioner's intent to step down?
Not at all.
So knowing that he stepped down now, what does that mean for you, given the fact that you have a current investigation going on, but what do you feel that that means in a larger scheme of things?
I think that it gives people a chance to finally believe in the system again, where, you know, when you go from stop and frisk to broken windows, that people consistently are feeling, do they have a chance in these communities? And when you watch what happened, where you have a police commissioner who is saying to an elected official, I don't care what comes out of this investigation, nothing's going to happen to this officer, people can't believe they would have a chance. I think now they may finally believe they have an opportunity. Chief O'Neill, who's the incoming commissioner, is a former commanding officer in the Bronx at the 4-4 precinct. He was at 2-5 in East Harlem. He was raised in East Flatbush. He was a transit officer in the A&D train. There's an opportunity for someone who actually understands parts of the community, who, again, without knowing the facts, this is the difference between two individuals. Commissioner Bratton decided to not respond, to tell me he had to rush to a meeting and then went and apologize. Chief O'Neill, without knowing any of the facts, immediately responds back, says we're going to find out what's happening. Yesterday, I called to congratulate him on probably the busiest day of his life. He calls back to say we need to meet immediately. It's an indication of a different perspective that can happen here. And so for me, hopefully my experience can be a part of catalytic change to try to move this conversation forward.
Now, we do need to tell our viewers, though, the fact that the police commissioner did step down had nothing to do, per se, with your incident.
No, but I think we have to recognize that 2 weeks ago, Commissioner Bratton was saying that he was stepping down at the end of next year. And then all of a sudden, within a 4-day experience where then he tells an elected official, pretty much, I don't care what just happened to you, there will be no action against the officer. Now he's leaving in a month. I'm not going to allude to try to say that my situation was what finally prompted it, but it definitely was a part of the straw that probably broke the camel's back.
So when you look at what's going on right now with police-community relations, obviously we know there's certain community leaders. I know the Reverend Al Sharpton has said that it's important for incoming Commissioner O'Neill to meet with the community and have that conversation. And even hearing some of his comments, he says he's not all too optimistic. He hasn't got all the facts yet. Your thoughts on the fact that there's still a cloud of misunderstanding, and not even misunderstanding is probably a bad word to use, but a cloud that still circles police-community relations, even with the new commissioner coming in.
Just approximately 2 weeks ago, as a member of the My Brother's Keeper Alliance, I hosted a conversation between cops and the community across the street where this incident happened, at the Claremont Neighborhood Community Center, a fantastic community development site ran by Abraham Jones, the same facility where we hosted the Public Safety Town Hall that Mayor de Blasio, Councilwoman Vanessa Gibson was the chair of Public Safety, we all co-hosted together. So we've already started to take those steps. Last night for National Night Out, I was at 5 different stops to say, if I am able to go through this experience, this level of humiliation, this level of racism, this level of discrimination that occurred for me, and say we must move forward as a people because these kids are watching us right now and they're watching what we're going to be doing, then I'm asking for all of us to move forward. So for me, the community relations and police relations has to take the next step to multiple degrees. Number one, how do we ensure that there is more hiring of officers that are from these communities? Number two, how are we more clearly aware of the definitions of use of force and excessive force? Number three, why were there more than 30 police officers on the scene at Morris Houses and an officer in distress call placed at that time? Number four, let's be very clear about what's happening around the training and the NCO program. And lastly, but definitely not least, what are the strategies that are going to be taken to de-escalate situations, to give people the benefit of the doubt, and to make sure that we're addressing the deeper issues of providing better schools, actually hiring from communities, providing economic opportunity so that communities can have a chance in the first place. This is an area, Darren, where at Morris Houses, I've given out school supplies, book bags, Christmas gifts. I've been over there to help read the kids. This is an area where they know me. While the incident had just completed itself, there were constituents and cops walking up to me saying, "Are you okay, Assemblyman?" So the reality is, even in the heat of the moment, we were able to figure out a way of saying, you know what, everybody, I know everyone's upset. I hear you. Let's figure out where we move from here. Because the only way we're going to make progress is if we figure out in this moment that we have to unite. The racial tensions and the tension between the cops and the community is at an all-time high that we've experienced in this generation. We now have to say, what are the concrete steps we're going to do? And this goes back to everything we talk about for our 3-2-1 vision of economic development, education, and equality. The only way we're going to have true reform is by addressing everything at one time, not just one piece at a time.
Where does your complaint go from here?
We have filed a complaint with the Civilian Complaint Review Board. We will be moving forward with that level of investigation. We'll be having interviews that will occur itself, and we'll determine what the next steps may be. You know, in conversation with our counsel, Royce Russell, who has a stellar track record in these instances, we're going to be figuring out how to elevate this and make sure that we don't lose sight of, while there was one step of progress that did occur in terms of the change of leadership, that we don't want to lose sight that excessive force was utilized. And there have to be changes in this system. There have to be changes in this process. And only through investigations and through justice will people believe that could be possible.
What would you like to see happen through this experience?
Well, there definitely should be some form of disciplinary action against the officer. The reality is the NYPD has not once indicated that excessive force did not occur. They just try to convey and try to confuse the scenario by saying, well, supposedly he touched someone's shoulder, even though, again, if I did, you should have arrested me. In which there also are multiple examples of individuals and officers lying about what occurred. Now, let's be clear, 95% of officers do the right thing, 95% people in the community do the right thing. But when 5% do something wrong, justice should occur. So there should be some form of action against the officer in some form of fashion. But then beyond that, clear training and understanding of what is the training around implicit race bias, what is the training around the NCO program, what is the practices of actually hiring more individuals in the community, especially since more funding has gone towards hiring and retention. We want to see concrete steps that happen in that manner, but then on top of that, beyond just the immediacy of the criminal justice dynamic, there has to be the broader challenges that are addressed at the same time. How do you improve the schools? How do you improve economic development? How do you change the exclusion policy that exists in NYCHA right now, where if someone is arrested, they can be evicted from that premises, and if they visit someone in that premises, the family can then be evicted from there? There are so many things that this moment can hopefully be utilized for. I am hopeful that not just an officer is disciplined, but that we're able to change a system.
Lastly, about Incoming Commissioner O'Neill, are you optimistic?
I am, because I think the reality of the swiftness of the change demonstrates that there's an attentiveness to the seriousness of the environment. And I shared this with a few folks yesterday after Reverend Sharp and others and I did a press conference. I really do believe that Commissioner O'Neill, when he comes in, has the chance to reform the city. He's a chance to try to heal very deep pain and hurt that exists right now between the Black, white, Latino, and Asian communities throughout the city. And this is an opportunity where we can turn crisis and challenge into opportunity.
All right. Assemblyman Michael Blake, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you.
All righty. Taking a quick break, but listen, we want you to stay with us. The general election is in full swing. We'll have a stellar panel of commentators with their take. Stay tuned. Coming right back in just a few.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family, the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
I love taking care of my mom. It wasn't easy at first. She learned how to better communicate her needs.
And you learned how to not ignore yours.
I discovered how to make healthier meals.
And I discovered how much I enjoyed them.
Becoming a caregiver is a learning experience for everyone. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
I already knew that I was going to go to college, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science. After that, I'm going to get my law degree. Then I'm going to come back to Detroit, boost the economy, become the mayor or something, try to make the situation better for other people. I feel like I owe it to the city. I'm determined. It's It's gonna happen. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
And we're out.
You got plans?
You bet.
50 million Americans struggle with hunger, but we can do something about it.
Excuse me. What's going on?
Dinner. Please join me in helping put food on their tables. Together, we can feed America.
You guys keep going. I'm gonna get the plates.
Plates?
Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/hunger. Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Hey, you're back here on Open. For the past 2 weeks, we've heard from the Republican and Democratic conventions, and they're telling people why they should vote. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump both have made strong cases in front of thousands of Americans who attended or tuned in to watch and address the nation. Now, with all that said and done, many Americans now question the direction of the presidential elections, which is less than 100 days away. And this leads us into our first political segment with three very distinguished political commentators here to discuss the current state of the election and where it's headed. We've got from RNN Television, TV political commentator Dominic Carter, who's here with us as well. Also, political and media consultant Bob Capstatter, who also ran the Bronx Bureau of the Daily News, and J.C. Polanco, who is adjunct professor at the Borough of Manhattan Community College, as well as our legal correspondent here as well. And so good to have you.
Thanks for having us.
It's great to be here. Stellar panel here. And first of all, before we talk about the convention, let's talk locally first. Our last segment, we talked about the stepping down of NYPD Commissioner Bill Bratton. Dominic, you've covered the city for a long period of time. What do you think this resignation actually means for New Yorkers and the NYPD?
So I take it you're calling me an old man?
I'm not calling you an old man. I call you a veteran.
A veteran. I covered Bratton. I bring the unique perspective of, I've covered the NYPD going back to 1985, 86, and the Eleanor Bumpers case at the Bronx courthouse. That's how I cut my teeth in journalism. And let's look at the good news, bad news scenario as it relates to Bratton. The good news is that Bratton was very much cutting edge under Giuliani. He brought to New York a broken windows theory in terms of being proactive with policing before, I emphasize, before a crime occurs. Prior to Bratton, it was all done after the fact. So that's the good news. He changed the technology. Crime has reached historic lows over the last couple of decades. That's been a nationwide trend. The bad news, as we just heard from the Assemblyman, is police community relations remains at a very high focal point in terms of the NYPD and police forces around the country, particularly here in the Bronx, being able to get along and coexist with the community. So that's been a downside.
Bob, when you hear the story of the Assemblyman, obviously this goes back to police community relations. You've covered the Bronx for years.
I've covered cops. I've been in the business for almost 50 years. Covered cops.
You're a veteran too.
Well, a grizzled veteran. We'll call it grizzled. Well, I had one question that Michael had said that if he had touched that officer's shoulder, then they should have arrested him. Well, in a flowing situation as he encountered where there's a fight going on, this cop may not have known what was going on, who was touching him, who was going to grab him. So that might have been the cop's reaction. We don't know. I think they may have used discretion in not arresting him after they found out who he was. So I think this should be part of the debate also in that. Community relations have always been difficult in this city, but I think they've calmed down a lot from decades ago where you had actual riots in this city. I'm hopeful that Jim O'Neill, who's a very good cop's cop, who is very savvy about community, reaching out to the community, will do a good job. It's funny, I was at a night out last night and I ran into Chief Carlos Gomez, the former borough commander up here, and we were going over how many commanders came through the Bronx that are carrying multiple stars on their shoulders in the department right now. The Bronx is in the house down at One Police Plaza. So I think,
that's a great thing that the Bronx is in the house. I think every time the Bronx is represented in these areas is wonderful for us. But one thing we can't ignore is the politics of this. We heard the history behind some of the criminal justice tactics by the commissioner, but there are some serious politics behind this decision. I think Commissioner Bratton resigned his position because he could not take working with the city council. The city council has put proposals through that take a lot of power away from the commissioner, that put a lot of oversight on top of the police officers, that make police officers jump through hoops. I mean, just take back 4 years ago. We're looking at police officers now having to respond to their sergeant, to their precinct commanders, and then to internal affairs, and then to the CCRB, and now guess what? They get to be sued in private civil court. So we have police officers that are no longer even wanting to interact with the community because they're afraid of a lawsuit that would hurt them personally. Then you have a police commissioner that has to deal with federal monitors, and now the last thing that happened was he resigns not soon after Bill de Blasio signs a bill decriminalizing dozens of offenses, things that improved our quality of life in New York City. So before, when you would urinate in public or drink a beer in public, you would receive a summons, and if you don't respond, then you face some criminal sanctions. But now, these things are going to be considered a joke. They're not going to be enforced. Police officers don't want nothing to do with it, and this is going to be a problem for law enforcement. It's going to create a problem where broken windows theory is no longer going to apply, and we're going to see crime increase. So you know what Bill Bratton said? We're taking law enforcement, you're taking it away from a professional like me, and you're giving it to these young kids that get elected to the city council with very little law enforcement experience, but acting politically.
But do you feel the crime will go up now with the change from Bratton O'Neill? I mean, is that a realistic? You're saying that's?
I think the city council is doing a terrible job when it comes to criminal justice. They're not law enforcement professionals. They're not prosecutors, and they're tying police officers' hands. That's what they're doing.
I think that. Frankly, to be honest with you, having covered City Hall and the department so long, Bratton gave Mayor de Blasio a certain amount of credibility as a crime-fighting star. Whether we agree with that or not, that was Bratton's image. And so now, Mayor de Blasio does not have that anymore. Also, I say look at the politics as well of Bratton is leaving right as all these investigations into the NYPD and federal investigations about bad conduct, about police commanders and private aircraft flying with prostitutes to Vegas and so on. All of these things are backdrops as to, so Bratton may be jumping ship while his image, he's always been very media savvy, always.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That was his downfall under Rudy Giuliani when he did that cover of Time magazine and the mayor was not on it. So he may be jumping ship before the department receives a black eye.
I agree. I think he's going out at a high point in his career.
Very good point.
Yeah. All right, we got to switch gears here to talk a little bit about the convention, the Democratic National Convention, wrapping up, Hillary Clinton receiving the Democratic nomination. And from your take, looking at what you saw, I'll start with JC first, who's the one who will definitely have something to say about this one. When you look at the convention, how did you rate it?
Which one?
The Democratic Convention.
Oh, the Democratic Convention.
Right.
Can I tell you, listen, I've never seen a performance like that since I saw Hamilton. I think it was quite a thing. I mean, when you see the all-star cast that was brought out there, I'm talking about from Senator Warren to Vice President Biden, President Obama, First Lady Obama. I mean, it's a bam, bam, bam. You get it from all angles, just superstars. But they were describing this character that doesn't exist. I mean, they were talking about how this person is wonderful, her leadership skills are amazing, someone that our children can emulate. That was Michelle Obama, by the way. Someone who's proven leadership, someone who will protect the national security. The whole time I'm looking around like, who is this surprise guest? Because you can't be talking about Hillary Clinton. This is a lady who used an email server that she wasn't supposed to, lied to us about classifying and top secret information being emailed. This is someone who's deleted 30,000 emails, told us she never deleted it, and someone who lied to the families of the people that died in Benghazi. You can't tell me this is the same person you're talking about. So as far as party unity, amazing event. Star-studded event, amazing. I mean, I loved the speeches; they were great, and much better than the Republican convention. By the way, by no stretch of the imagination are they even on par.
I tend to agree with you.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah, there you go.
I need that.
I mean, they made a few mistakes. I mean, there were no American flags on the stage till somebody pointed it out.
I don't know. They said there were some. I don't know.
Later I saw them, but then they had the mothers of black men who'd been killed by police, but no widows of police officers who'd been killed till much later in the convention. So I mean, there were a couple of little casting mistakes, but I agree. It was all to humanize Hillary, to just dispel this Lady Macbeth image that she's had to fight. She's had to fight it. The Claire Underwood of politics. And you're right about the Republican convention. It was very disjointed, but I don't think it mattered to Trump supporters. I mean, the Twitter is his convention.
Yeah.
Right. And talk about that for a minute, because for a long time, people have discounted Donald Trump supporters. And obviously, by looking at what you saw at the Republican convention, there's a groundswell of support. And his candidacy is definitely legitimate. What can we predict going head on in the future?
I know both nominees well on a personal level, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. I am telling the people of the Bronx, we have to understand that America does not look like the Bronx or the city of New York for that matter. And America certainly does not think like the Bronx or the city of New York. I am telling you, for all of Trump's unconventional ways, as of late, some have questioned his mental sanity. But for all of his theatrics and all of his games and the pandering by both candidates, I am telling you, don't sleep on Donald Trump. He is tapped into an anger that exists throughout America. And at the end of the day, throughout all the political games, he could be elected the president. As scary as it might be for some, he could be elected president of the United States.
What do the Republicans need to do to capitalize on this?
I think it's very tough for us right now. I disagree with Dominic. I mean, I think there was a chance for him to win, but he decided that he was going to become a clown. And what he's done is he's now attacking Paul Ryan by not supporting him. He's now attacking Senator McCain by not supporting him in his election bid. He's attacking Republican leadership daily. He's saying terrible things about Captain Khan's family. I mean, this is a guy who seems to me, who had an opportunity, like Dominic said, but somehow veered off and is now saying to himself, I don't care anymore. I'm going to just run this train off the rails. And I don't see how he can win this election if he continues this way. There's just no way possible. If you look at the latest polls, after the convention, 56%, according to Gallup, 56% of Americans are now less likely to vote for him after the Republican National Convention. That's not polling after Captain Khan's comments, the Captain Khan family comments. I don't see it. I don't see how it happens, especially with such low percentage of black voters supporting him. He's at 0 in Ohio. And the fact that now you have 11% of Hispanics supporting him. Those are dismal numbers. Although Dominic is right about something. He's tapped into some anger, but I want to add, he may have cultivated some of that, which is very sad.
I agree with you.
Yeah. I tend to think it's going to be a close race. I'm concerned about the third-party candidates, the Libertarians and the Green Party. I mean, again, I cite the Brexit vote where England, a lot of people cast their votes out of anger and didn't expect England would leave the EU, but there you go. What happened? So, yes, Trump looks like he is unraveling, but then you go on Facebook and you see the comments, even on the Khan controversy, where you have people supporting Trump and excusing it and finding all kinds of reasons. And
but Cappy, we don't have a Brexit system.
Let me throw this question out here, because I was in England and I just came back from England, and one of the people who were out there with Brexit said the reason that Brexit occurred was because people didn't show up to vote, and they thought that everything would be okay. They didn't show up to vote, and now we understand what happened. They said the same thing could happen in the United States.
There's no doubt about it. Let me just make the scenario where that could happen. Trump's base is going to vote. I travel throughout the country a lot, places like Wisconsin, Idaho, and the battleground states that have been mentioned. You have to understand, it may be ugly politics, but by Trump taking on a Gold Star family, what he is really doing, I am telling you, as knowing him, the politics behind it, he's taking on, as despicable as it may be, a Muslim American family. And for that, there is tremendous political gain with his base.
That is terrible, Dominic. Oh my God, but do you know what, guys? One thing you haven't mentioned. We keep talking about Brexit. We talk about his base. We're looking at a country that decided a couple hundred years ago that we don't want to elect our presidents through popular vote. This is an electoral college map contest. And I don't see how he can disregard the electoral map. Right now, he's well below 200 in the electoral count. So I don't see how he can win using this strategy to get to 270 electoral votes. It's just impossible. Our founding fathers were light years ahead of their time
He's
when it comes to this.
competitive in every battleground state.
Yeah,
Let's
but
see what happens.
we'll
Pennsylvania,
see.
Ohio, Florida.
I think we'll see in the latest round.
I'm going to give Cappy the last word since he's the veteran.
Oh, Lord. Well, you know, I have to say something about the Khan controversy. I mean, a lot of people are saying this could be his Senator Joe McCarthy moment, where Joseph Welch said, "At long last, sir, have you no sense of decency left?" I don't know if it's going to, if it's put an arrow in the side of Trump or not. I think it has. I think it's hurt him badly. And I think the next thing coming up is the debates. And if Hillary is well rehearsed and comes off strong, if he does not show his accumulated knowledge, which he so far, would you ask him where Switzerland is, please, if he even knows it's in Europe? I think the debates will probably finally tell the tale, will help.
Can I just thank you real quick? I know you're out of time. I want to thank you for what you do. I grew up in the Bronx. I thank you for what you do for our community. I know you've been out there for many years. I appreciate you. And what I appreciate in particular, the audience can't see it right now, but you have about 40 young people that are here in studio watching this show. The reason why this is important to me, back when I was growing up here in the Bronx on Webster Avenue, and my family, I grew up on welfare, didn't have money, they took us to the PAL. And at the PAL, they took me at these kids' age to a television show called Wonderama with Bob McAllister, who was the host. And thus, look at what I'm doing for a living now, television. And so we're planting seeds with these young people, and I'm greatly impressed by you, your team, your producers for having these young people here.
Thanks a lot, Dominic. We appreciate that. JC, as always, you guys got to come back again.
Oh, yeah.
And, we love to have you. We're just getting the irons going. So
what's the pay scale here?
We'll talk about that after. Bob Capstadt, JC Polanco, Dominic Carter, our guest in studio. Listen, we got to take a quick break, but please don't go anywhere. We're going to be back with more show coming up right after this. We do have a studio audience, and maybe we'll get our cameras to show you a quick look at who's in studio with us, and we're glad to have them as well. So stay with us. We'll come right back right after this.
In your new role, we help you help. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who once took care of you.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it! I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
We are back here on Open. Darren Jaime here with you. The Bronx River Alliance serves to protect, improve, and restore the Bronx River to an educational and an economic resource for the community. Now, here to talk about the upcoming event, A Day in the Life of the Bronx River, we have Ecology Director Michelle, how do you pronounce your last name?
Lupke.
Lupke, just want to make sure I got it right. Michelle, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you for having me.
So this is a very special event.
It is.
So share with us a little bit about it.
Oh my goodness, it's two of my favorite things, rivers and citizen science. And citizen science is essentially getting people, like the young people in your audience, you don't have to just go into TV, you could go into science, it's cool. Getting them involved in scientific research. So we've invited a number of professional scientists to come out and join us and do various studies on the river, and then we're inviting community members to come out and join them and learn a little bit more about the river.
And so when you talk about community members learning about the river, there's obviously a passion for it, and there's a cultivated passion for it. Talk to us about the community involvement in your steps and really engaging the community.
Oh, we've had a lot of really great outpouring. There's people who you never think they're avid birders, and they're so excited to come out to Sound View and see what kind of birds are out there. We've got all sorts of fisher people that I've met. There's a New York City chapter of Trout Unlimited that's really excited about working with us, because otherwise they have to go to the Catskills. But the Bronx River is the only freshwater river in New York City, and so that we think that's pretty special, that anybody in New York can come out to a freshwater river and really experience the calmness, the beauty, the aesthetics, but also understand what lives in there too.
When you talk about the Bronx River, obviously, so many people, we drive by it, the Bronx River Parkway, but there's a great history there.
Yeah, it's 24 miles long. It starts up at the Kensico Dam up in Westchester. And it was once considered to be a drinking water supply, but then we started abusing it, and we started using it as an open sewer. We still have fecal pollution issues today. So that's one of the things that we also want to bring attention to, is that how people can become proactive agents of change to help improve this vital resource in our communities.
So when you're talking about being proactive and getting the community to become proactive, what are some of the things you can do? Because obviously the river preservation is a major concern for you. What can people do?
Well, I mean, one, you could come out and volunteer with us. We do restoration activities, we do all sorts of testing to see where the contamination is, but other things you can do in your daily life. We have a saying around the office that we like to say is, save it for a sunny day. So if it's raining, we have an issue in the Bronx and New York City in general with combined sewage overflows. And so that means that water going down the storm drain and water going down the sanitary sewer mix, and they overload our wastewater treatment plants. So they have to discharge untreated raw sewage right into the river. So what we're saying is, hey, if you don't need to run the dishwasher, if you're lucky enough to have a dishwasher, if you don't need to run the washing machine, if you don't need to take that shower right then, just wait a little bit until after the rainstorm so we don't try to overburden the wastewater treatment plant. And if every single person keeps that in mind, then we're going to be putting less water into the system, and we're going to be hopefully reducing the raw sewage that goes into our rivers.
So As we talk about the day event, now there's an upcoming event, a day in the life, and we want you to come on out and be a part of that. Now, what do people need to do? They just, I mean, besides show up, they got to get in touch with you early.
They do. We have an Eventbrite page. It's a day in the life of the BronxRiver.eventbrite.com. And there's all sorts of different things you can do. There's experimental fishing. There's eel shocking. You can go.
What's eel shocking?
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. Basically, you put electric current into the river, and it sort of overrides the nervous system of a fish, and so they kind of pop to the surface, and you grab them with a net, and so you can measure them and count the different types. It's really fun.
Eel shocking.
Yeah, they survive.
Sounds
they're
like it's
fine.
illegal, but okay.
Well, you have to have a permit.
Yeah.
So I don't recommend it for just any normal citizen.
Don't try this at home.
No,
Right,
exactly. Go with a professional.
Right.
We have an invasive plant removal that we're going to be doing with our conservation crew, our amazing crew members in the Bronx Forest. We're going to have all sorts of events at the Botanical Garden, at the zoo. Everything from Bronxville down south to Soundview. We're really excited. So it's going to start around 9 a.m. on Saturday, August 13th. And then each different group is going to do different studies. And then at 2 o'clock, we're meeting at Concrete Plant Park for a big event. We're going to have dancers and art made out of garbage and all sorts of really amazing, incredible data exchange. Then all the research groups are going to meet there, and they're going to tell everybody what they had found that day.
So what you're calling out, a day in the life of the Bronx Rivers. You heard it's a 24-mile stretch all the way from Westchester County all the way into the borough of the Bronx. And if you want to spend the time having several events, eel shocking. You could. That's just one of the many events, but you can come on out and be a part of that. And Michelle has led us and letting us know all the great things that are going on. Thank you so much for coming and sharing. We hope that the weather holds out well and everybody can, have a good time.
We could even put you in some waders and get you out shocking.
Oh, it's a possibility. We'll see how it goes. Thanks a lot, Michelle.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, listen, we want to thank Michelle for coming, and we want to also thank you, because guess what? We're about out of time, so we want to thank our guests for joining us. Now, most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, yes, you can catch the Recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. You can also catch me on Perspectives Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. on Cablevision's Channel 67. If you have Verizon Fios, that's 33, or watch us anytime on the web at www.bronxnet.org. I'm Darren Hyman, reminding you to keep your heart, your mind, and most of all, this channel wide open. Until next time. Take care, and God bless.
Hello, good people of the Bronx and beyond. Welcome to A Life in Art.
Every Monday night at 9, we talk to the borough's movers and shakers about the latest in Bronx politics, education, healthcare, arts and culture, and literally any and everything that's important to the people of the Bronx. There's a reason why Bronxites have been turning to Bronx Talk for more than 20 years, because Bronx Talk is about you and me, the people of the Bronx. So we'll see you Monday night at 9.